You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
After 9 o'clock, Dumelang, bonjour. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us on the Thursday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. I trust you're well this morning. Let's kick off with the 702 open line, shall we? The number to dial is 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Here's a question. Have you consulted a lawyer before your lobola? Are you one of those that have signed a prenup before lobola? I'm asking this question because from my anecdotal experience, most people do a prenup after lobola for two reasons. One, because traditionally you want to start with the process of lobola first, because you want the families to go. You think that is the first right step to take before you can continue with any other conversations about, prenups, or are we doing the so-called white wedding, or are we going to do a dinner? Some people traditionally believe that they have to start there. Like, why are we signing a prenup and having conversations with lawyers when our families have not met and we have not ticked that box? Right? That is the first reason. The second reason is that, and I don't know, for some reason, because this is it's a bizarre reason. For some bizarre reason, we've always thought of lobola as like the first step before the actual marriage, in that some people have always thought of it as an engagement. And I know that view has shifted over the years. I mean, we now understand and take lobola as an actual wedding. Some people don't even do what we call white weddings anymore, because once lobola is paid, you are fully married. The reason I'm asking you this is because of the Constitutional Court ruling yesterday that couples married under customary law are married in community of property and therefore cannot enter into an ante-nuptial contract at a later stage, even if you subsequently enter into a civil marriage. So basically, any kind of contract entered into after the customary marriage is null and void. So if you signed prenups after lobola, you will have to consult a lawyer or go to court and sign your marriage contract afresh. That's the advice that some lawyers have given. But does that mean that you have to divorce and then get into a new agreement? Because whatever you sign now is still post lobola, if of course you started with lobola. So do you annul your customary marriage and then sign again from scratch? This is what Sibongile Ndashe said on the Midday Report yesterday, explaining what the people who have followed that process of lobola, then they signed a prenup, actually need to do.
What it does is makes it clear that customary marriage has the same status as other marriages that are concluded in the country. That when you change a proprietary regime, so the regime that governs the property in the marriage, you have to get it sanctioned by the High Court. You cannot just sign an agreement between the two of you. So what the Constitutional Court said today is that ante-nuptial contract will be invalid. So this brings customary marriages in line with other civil marriages, that when you have a contract or a decision to change your marital regime, it must be through a notarially executed contract that is then confirmed by the court. And that's the only way that you can change the proprietary regime of a marriage.
So it looks like at the end of the day, you will have to go through the court process, right, to have that confirmed. It cannot just be a mere agreement. What are your thoughts on this constitutional court judgment, and how is it going to affect you? I'm more interested in what you have done before lobola. Are you one of those that have consulted a lawyer and you signed something before lobola? Or are you one of those that have, like I said, the two reasons. One, you started with lobola because you thought that's a respectful way traditionally to do things before you can even think about, prenups. Or you started with lobola because you thought of it as more of an engagement before the so-called white wedding and before you can enter into a civil marriage and you can sign a prenup. Give us a call now. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
So, here's another question I have for you, and please bear with me because this is something that really confused me when I was going through the Sunday papers. And then I came to work this week, and I have been throughout this week, I've been stress testing it with my colleagues, and I can have a conversation with you because I've tested it with my colleagues, and I've come to realize that actually this is something that truly exists, this perception that I'm about to share with you. I read a story in the Sunday Times 4 days ago about learners who are discouraged to be excellent in school. This is something that happened in Limpopo. There are learners who are discouraged from being excellent in school because there's a belief that if learners do well, they're going to be bewitched. Right? These are learners from Naledi Yameso Secondary School in Limpopo. That's where the matric class of 2025, which had 15 pupils, by the way, recorded 100% failure rate. In fact, the principal of that school is apparently on her way out. And of course, there are other reasons for this failure rate, whether it's poor parent participation or ill discipline or maybe years of institutional collapse, you name it. But a belief that learners who do well will be victims of witchcraft was also stated as a reason by the community. And I found that to be bizarre. I was honestly surprised to see that there are people who are scared of success because they are scared of being bewitched. And I want to know if you understand where these kids are coming from. Like, do you have a similar fear of witchcraft like that? Because I've always believed that, I won't be affected by that because I don't believe it has that power over me. But there are people who are cautious about how they live their lives because they don't want certain people who may have negative feelings towards them to know about their success. So are you cautious? Are you yourself cautious about how you live your life and how you show your success to avoid falling victim to witchcraft? Because I once heard a story of a woman, in fact, in my community, someone who stays on my street, in fact, who used to come home to our village and arrive at night, and she would park secretly the car and avoid people seeing that she bought a car because she's scared that she may be bewitched. So how do you then live your life? So I asked a few people at work about this, and it seems like this is really a thing that happens. There are people who are genuinely scared of people who may have negative feelings towards them or be jealous towards them to a point that they don't tell people that, oh, I'm now a CEO at work, or my child is going to university, or my child has bought a new car, my child has bought a house, because you're scared that people may go and do something with that information. Is that a thing? Because what I've picked up from the people I've spoken to, it is. And it apparently happens a lot at home. So it's mostly when you are home, when, not so much in and around Johannesburg and, or in the suburbs. You can let me know if that happens here. But it looks like there are certain people who are scared of, someone even said to me, they've got 2 cars. There's a fancy car that they drive around the suburbs, and they've got like an old car that whenever they drive home to the village, they take that car to the village. Because they can't take this fancy car home because they're scared that the community back at home may do something to them. Let's talk about it on 011-883-0702. WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
So, hi Clement, with my sister, who had her lobola in December, they did a prenup way before the lobola. So after the letter, they consulted with lawyers, and they went to the lawyers before the uncles came at the gate. So I think we've always understood it to be like that.
That's good to hear.
Good morning, Clement. I don't understand why men are being forced to marry in community of property. There are women in South Africa who are wealthy, who doesn't want to share their things with men, but men are forced to marry in community of property by the government. Customary marriage, we never signed anything that say we are marrying in community of property, but the law say, the judge say if you are customary married, you are automatically married in community of property. What nonsense is that? That is nonsense.
But nobody is forcing men to do anything. And why are you assuming that the force is on the men? Why is the force not on the women? Also, remember, there's a way that marriages were curated in the past. Yes, marriages have evolved over time, which is why now we can have conversations about prenups. We understand them better, the agreements that can be signed. But there's a way that marriages were done in the past where, this is it. When you sign, this is what you guys are to each other. But as we evolve as a people, as things evolve, you begin to learn a lot about what the consequences are of that kind of agreement. Because part of the reason that also some of our parents or grandparents were stuck in marriages was because of how that setup and that structure was curated. So I don't think men are being forced. I think you've got options. Also, as a man, nothing stops you from, okay, before lobola, let me actually go consult a lawyer. Let's draw up a prenup. Or at this stage right now, you can go consult a lawyer or go to court, take it through the process to make sure that you are not married in community of property. So the options are available for you.
Good morning, Clement. In my case, we knew that we wanted a prenup because we already had our individual assets. So I did my research and we signed the prenup a week before lobola negotiations commenced. We also included wording addressing the sale and disposal of our existing properties and that the pension funds are excluded. Just think of it as personal insurance. You take it, but you hope that you don't have to use it. This is Dikezo in Northwold.
Hey, morning, Clem. Obrin Fosloras. Clement, the issue of marriages, ne? My question here lies particularly the lobola, the customary marriage. So if later on, Clement, ne, we sign in community, not the ANC, not out of community. So does that mean that I think the court was supposed to say the lobola is recognized as like our traditional marriage? So if I've paid lobola, Clement, ne, now do I have the right to to be a polygamist and take the second wife because of now the recognition that since I've paid lobola, we are married. So in community of property, which the traditional marriage, even after marrying, yes, you could be able to take the second wife or be a polygamist or something like that. So the court was supposed to rule on both decisions that, okay, ANC doesn't exist as long as you have paid lobola. And once you've paid lobola, does polygamy get into the way? Or I think the court was supposed to clarify on that also, that, okay, you've paid lobola, no ANC, then there is polygamy, because according to our traditions, lobola, you could still go back and negotiate for the second wife or something like that. Thank you.
But whose tradition when you say our? Because traditions are different. There are some people who whose traditions don't necessarily believe in a polygamous marriage or a polygamous setup. But also, I don't understand it that way, that because it's a lobola that's paid, then the conclusion and the assumption is that, you could easily get into into polygamy. That's not how I understand it to be. I mean, unless it's a setup and it's a tradition you follow, then that conversation is out of the window, because even the person you marry would know, right? That, hey, I actually believe in this. So once we get married, then at some point we're going to have conversations about then another wife coming into the picture. Dalom, you calling us from Tafelkop. What do you want to say about this issue of witchcraft and people fearing to show their success? Good morning.
Hey, Clement, that thing is there. Good morning to everyone. Yeah, I will talk about myself. Anyway, I'm from Tafelkop. That's where Naledi, so you can find that school. That section called the Halaupeng.
Ah, okay.
Yes. Clement, like myself, say I buy a car, I won't take that. I'll go to a dealership and buy a car, but the car will arrive at home just after darkness.
What?
Say from 6, 7. It's there.
What are you scared of, Della?
Bro, we're coming from Limpopo. We grow up our parents.
Like, what's the worst that could happen?
The worst that could happen, Clement, of which I don't believe, but I'll believe it. The worst that could happen, if somebody just bump into your car, your parents will say, you have not brought this car at this time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
There are wishes here. I mean,
sure.
That must just get off us, man.
Yeah.
It's happening. Even the child, the books. Some people take the books to church, some take to some commerce. I mean, it's there. It's happening.
Okay. Yeah. Dalom, thank you. Yo. Dalom is calling us from Tafelkop. I'm glad, actually, we've got a call from someone who lives in that area I'm telling you about. Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, this is wild. This is really wild. So if you are proud of your child who's just won an award, best CEO, or I don't know, best accountant, best lawyer, best broadcaster, and you want to share with the neighbor, you can't do that because the neighbors may have, reasons to harm you or your child?
Hi, Clement. Thank you so much for the show. These things really happen, and I totally understand where they're coming from. I think at times, if it hasn't happened to you, you always feel like, I don't believe in it, or I'm such a praying person that it won't happen to me. Also, because you're a praying person, chances are it will happen to you, but they're not going to win, right? They will try, but you will know. Somehow you will know. I used to be like that. I used to be like, man, I'm such a praying person. These things won't happen to me, until a close family member tried doing stuff to me. And it wasn't a thing of speculation. He was actually saying it himself, that this is what I tried, it didn't work. This is what I tried, it didn't work. I don't know how is it that this guy keeps on succeeding. So in his head, he thought, I have money, I'm doing well. And just because you drive a certain car, you stay in a certain area, people just assume that you have money. Guys, we all have bills and whatnot, but there's some people that are not happy with your success, and they will try whatever it takes. So these things happen, trust me, I know.
Good morning, Clement and the listeners. I personally live as I want to, but I am not naive, because I know for sure that there's spiritual wickedness in high places in the world. So much as I live as I desire, I do that because I trust the spirit that begs me. But anybody, the person who is sharing a duet with, literally every single night, bends in pepoyake, and she just splashes the water everywhere. And I don't say, hey, my belief is contrary, because I'm clear. There are things she's experienced that I've never experienced. And if the spirit that backs me is superior, honestly, she can do whatever makes her feel good. But I'm clear that actually every single one of us is backed by a spirit. I'm clear that witchcraft is real. I'm not obsessed with it. It doesn't define me. So let's not undermine other people's views. People live their lives according to their experiences. Zama from Pretoria.
Thank you for your contribution. And to be clear, I'm not having a debate about whether witchcraft exists or not, right? And I'm not saying that people who believe it exists are weird or people who don't believe it exists are weird. I'm just saying I didn't know that people actually curate their lives to protect themselves from it. Like to a point that even when you've bought a car, even when you've got something to celebrate at home, you are not going to do that. Or you want to buy a car and arrive at home at night and leave at night because people must not see your car because you're scared they may do something to you. I feel like that curtails your life. Like now you have to live in fear. You can't celebrate your life. Huh? Back in where I come from, there was a time when you've bought a car, like, parking,
It's a bell.
Okay.
Like,
a hooter. And then a hooter. You drive around, go strating in the village.
So that everybody comes out and celebrates with you.
That's how things used to be done. Ushapa bele or driver ko village ur. So wait, people can't do that because someone in the neighbor is gonna probably do something bad towards you. That is terrible, and I think it's terrible to the people who harbor the jealousy. Like that's a devil incarnate. When someone is celebrating there, you're thinking, why are they so successful? I want to hate them. That is actually quite scary to know that we live among such people. And I suppose that is my shock. It's 9:32.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock on the 702 open line this morning. I'm asking you about Lobola. Did you do a prenup before Lobola? And if you've done it after, do you know what you need to do now? I'm also asking you about the story I read in the Sunday Times about these kids who failed. There were 15 learners in grade 12. Can you believe it? This is in a school in Limpopo. The name of the school, where's that name of the school? The name of the school is Naledi Ameso Secondary School in Limpopo. The principal is now, being pushed out because, how do you explain that? 100% failure rate. And when the journalist was asking around what's happening, apparently the learners are scared to be successful and to even do well in their grades because they are scared of being bewitched. And I'm asking you if you are cautious with how you live your life, how you show your success and how you celebrate it because of that fear. And I see some calls and WhatsApps coming through. Before we get to that, let's hear what some of you have had to say on this constitutional court judgment.
Good morning, Clement. It's Buddy here from Gqeberha. Clement, I spoke to one of my friends after this landmark decision by the Constitutional Court, and he is married. He's been 7 years in marriage, and he said to me he will actually use this unconstitutionality of his marriage to actually divorce her wife, because he feels that he made a huge mistake by marrying the lady that he is with now. So he wants to use this invalidity to actually quit the marriage, because he actually did the lobola before the prenup. Thanks, Bati from Clubs.
Hey, Clement, Namani Akanyesesa here. Clement, regarding the Constitutional Court ruling about customary marriage and signing of contracts thereafter and so forth and so forth. Clement, can the Constitutional Court just provide some sort of an amnesty for those who obviously lobolaed and then after that they went to sign contracts? You know, just let the Constitutional Court just say, guys, it's a reset, start afresh, and I'm keen to see who will want to continue with this thing called marriage. Haruke, Clement, if that's possible. Namani Akanyeseta.
My goodness. No, I don't think that's going to happen. Lesego, you're calling us from Joburg. What are your thoughts?
Hey, morning, Clement. How are you?
I am not, Wana.
Sup. Look, I just wanted to add my 2 cents on this lobola thing. My understanding is that, because I feel like a lot of guys are also now panicking, my understanding is that with the customary marriage, the full process has to be done. So meaning it's not just the families coming together meeting. There also has to be Ushabisa Mahadi, that whole celebratory part. And then that cements the customary marriage, and then, okay, fine, then you are married now, and as a result, you are married in community of property. But I'm of the opinion that some people, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is that you can't just, the families come together, there's maybe, some people say, it can't just be, we pay maybe a 2,000 rand just to cement that relation, and then that's it, and then now we are married in community of property. My understanding is that the whole process has to be done. The families have to celebrate. Everything has to be done accordingly, in accordance to, the traditions. Then the marriage is what's the word, consummated. Yeah.
But you can't also dictate to me what form that celebration must take. So I could say to you, Lesego, that we did lobola and then we rebekile di kuku, ranafa sirar, alili, and that was a celebration. So you can dictate to me and say a celebration must be, there's a cow that was slaughtered and the community came and everybody came. So then we are going to get into then how people define what a celebration is to them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, families do things differently. Yes. But typically you would say, what is typically the norms. For instance, in the Zulu families, there might be, people buying, blankets, by sharing over. Then there's that whole process. Families do things differently, but there's typically a norm, that this is how things are done. There's that process.
And these days, even the cultures are different, Lesego. You can be Zulu, but there are subcultures within the Zulu culture. Culture has evolved so much now that there's no static way of doing things. Some people choose to do it differently. Others choose to do it like the old times, Lesego, but I get your point. Thank you for your call. Sean, you are calling us from, in fact, let's start with Azrom in Mamelodi. Azrom, what do you want to say about this ruling? Hi.
Yes, Madumeja. It seems to me people don't understand this. My understanding is the law says a couple which entered into a customary marriage is not precluded from entering into a civil marriage. That's a starting point. Now, the issue is this ante-nuptial contract. If after you entered into a civil marriage, it's not a question of you are not precluded from entering into an ANC. As long as there is a judicial oversight, you entered into or followed the proper procedure. Then that procedure is followed legally.
Yes.
Then you are allowed. The law allows for that.
Yes, as long as you've gone through the court process.
The people think that before you entered into a civil marriage, first you have to enter into an ante-nuptial contract. It's an obligation. It's mandatory. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yes,
you can enter into a customary marriage after that. The very same couple, not other people. The very same couple can enter into a civil marriage. And we must understand in the Constitutional Court, it's not a unanimous decision. It's a split decision. The mandatory decision said, what happens to that couple which entered into a civil marriage? What happens to the customary marriage? Because you entered into a civil marriage, because you are saying the civil marriage and the customary marriage are the same. they entertain same status.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happened? Can you give us clarity as to what is happening after that?
When you say it's not a unanimous decision, what do you mean, Azra?
No. You know, in the Constitutional Court, there are judges there.
Yes.
But you understand that if we are 5, and all 5 of us, we say we agree to this decision.
Yes.
Then we say it's a unanimous decision.
Yes, but what matters is what the judgment is. So whether there's a dissenting judgment or not, you can go read that for your own understanding.
The minority judgment is saying whatever.
Yeah, but that has no material effect. It's going to confuse people as wrong.
I understand what you
we'll confuse people now. So I get what you mean, though. But that's a dissenting one. It has no material effect to the current arrangement. I hear what you say, though, about once you've done customary marriage and you've followed through due process, you've gone through the court process, that prenup that you signed after customary marriage is valid. But as long as you've gone through the court process. But the reality is there are a lot of people that have simply signed legal documents and have not followed that entire process that requires you to go through the court.
That's for sure. And then I would support the argument used by the previous caller concerning what is a customary marriage. It's not a question of, it's not simple as it is. There are experts in relation to what is a customary marriage. You cannot just explain customary marriage in just simple terms.
Yeah, it gets tricky though, Azram, because those experts, Libana, they belong somewhere else. So you're going to bring a Zulu expert who must tell me about my Sepedi traditions.
Yes, there are laymen concerning how do you describe a customary marriage and all those things. It's subject to clarification and explanation and all those things. But the issue is, as you were saying, you gave a simple example of just inviting 2 or 3 people and all those things, and it doesn't work like that. A marriage is a marriage is some sort of a contract between 2 people. It's some sort of a contract between 2 families and all. You can explain it in various ways.
Yeah, and that's exactly my point. Is because you can explain it various ways, then why must we have a uniform way that says there must be a cow, there must be 10 people, there must be a celebration, the neighbors must come? What if I say to you, I didn't have the neighbors. I had 2 families who came in, we signed, we baked cakes, we had Coca-Cola and cakes, we celebrated amongst us, and that was us formalizing that. You can't say then that's not a celebration. That's where my issue is. And there are subcultures. Just because this person is a Zulu doesn't mean that they have to follow it in that way. They can tell you, well, this is how I want to practice my culture. Azron, thank you so much for your thoughts. Let's go to Tsepo, who's calling us from Garankuwa in Pretoria. Tsepo, what do you want to say about this fear around witchcraft? How do you live your life?
Clement, good morning. I want to tell my story. People always tell me, don't tell us about what they're doing, because people will stand in front of them, do certain things before you. You know, I rolled with my car, but the car was fixed, it's fine. And I went home to visit. My cousin said, don't come with this car here anymore because they will bewitch you. I said, I'm not really worried about what people will do to me. I'm worried what myself I will carry my way around. Do you remember there was a story of people buying lightning?
Buying lightning?
Yes.
From who?
They say in Marabastad it's 5 rand or something like that. It's an allegation. Now, the late Professor Ralushai actually went and approached a traditional doctor. And the traditional doctor said he can send lightning. Remember there was the killings in Limpopo. Remember that is a long time ago, where people were killed, old people were killed, didn't believe that they're bewitching people and so forth. Then Professor Ralushai, I remember, I'm not sure if he was from University of Venda or something like that. He went and investigated this thing.
And he found that you can buy lightning for 5 rand in Marabastad. Tsepo, thank you for calling in Garankuwa. Sean, you're calling from Bushbuck Ridge. What are your thoughts on this? Good morning.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
Hi, Kimnat. How's it?
Bushbuck Ridge, first of all, is known for these things. That's their expertise. You understand? So, now I'll tell you like a story saga and the story that happened to a friend. Start off with the story. He had a friend. A friend of mine bought a nice German car, 4 exhausts. He was young, 25. And his neighbor literally said,
meaning?
Like, enjoy it while it lasts. And it didn't last. That car rolled.
Maybe it was an accident?
Yeah, it's an accident. You can believe so. But the thing is now, he was driving. There was a car in front of him. You understand? But suddenly, there was a pack of cows that he hit on. You understand? And then with me, since I've seen these things happen around people around me, I now live in fear. I'm like that one listener who sent a voice note. I have a car high, and I have a car that I use around here.
Geez, so there's a car you drive in the suburbs, and there's a car you drive when you go back home?
Yes. So this one car, that one that I drive in the suburbs, it's more expensive than the other one. So even when I went to fetch it, my mom had to come this side because I wanted to celebrate with her and everything. But there was one condition. You don't upload status.
Yo, don't post it.
You don't post that car.
Okay. Yeah, so, no, Sean, I hear you. I hear you.
It's bad, it happened. It's just unfortunate that the learners didn't pass because that's what they believe. But you must do it professionally, so you understand. You make sure you work hard, but just hide your things so that you can enjoy them in peace.
Yeah, okay, Sean, in Bushbuck Ridge, 2 cars. Fancy one in Joburg or around the suburbs, and the other older one, you take it home because you're just scared of what people can actually do to you.
Morning, Clement and the team. When it comes to what you read in the Sunday Times with witchcraft, for hiding your success or your potential success, if I can put it that way, when it comes to people at school, it is true. But some people just brush it out. If you give it power, then... But it is true. Because I have a son who is 17. He goes to school. I always tell him, you don't... It's always been a thing that you don't brag, you don't talk about what you have, you just go to school, you keep quiet, you do your work, and then that's it. Even if you show, you don't show, people can see your potential for some reason. I don't know, it's just a thing that they invest in, I don't know why. And they can just make you just be just a thing and be nothing, or just... It's a thing, and it is happening, whether you believe it or not.
Good morning, Madimecha. Good morning, Clement. Hudson Matole from Tembisa. Clement, what you just said is true. I remember back in the days, I had a colleague who would usually go home and visit during December holidays. And what would happen is that he would literally make sure that, the fancy car stays behind, and then would literally take the other car, which is an old beat-up car, and drive it straight to Limpopo. So those things are actually factual. It's true, they are happening. And even today, it's very sad that, the kids are even going through the same thing even today. So those things are reality, and they're happening in Limpopo. I'm not sure about other provinces, but it's more prevalent in Limpopo. Literally adults who are living in poverty simply because they're afraid of being successful. If you become successful, chances are that you get home, they're going to bewitch you. So, that one is true, Clement, unfortunately. It's very sad, but then it's happening in Limpopo.
Good morning, Clement, and Happy New Year. First time engaging on 702. Well, this thing, it goes on 2 ways. I think those are people that will be, I can term to be ill-informed or misinformed. I don't know what's the right way to use there. Because apparently, these people that are called witches, whether you post, whether they heard it from you or not, they will be knowing that this is what you have achieved. So whether you hide it or you don't, it's apparent that they know what exactly you are going to receive even before you receiving it. So there's no point in you hiding it. I just live my life to the fullest whatever I achieve, I post it, I talk about it, because anyway, whether you do or you don't, they will still be knowing what is happening with your life.
Yeah. Nandi, you calling us from Soweto. Good morning.
Okay.
Hey,
Hi,
Nandi.
how are you, Clement?
Sharp. How are you? What are your thoughts
I'm
on this
good, thank you
court
so
judgment?
much.
Yeah?
Yes. So my take is that I think people are actually confusing this whole thing, because the option of having to get an antenuptial contract has always been there, right? Or which type of marital contract you prefer as a couple. That choice has always been there. But now I think the confusion is that you can't go do the antenuptial after, because it means before. If then you want to go separate those assets, you need to do a postnuptial contract after the lobola has been sent, after the letter has been sent, to then be able to separate your assets. But I think the whole thing now is going left, and people are causing an uproar over nothing really, and I don't think it would have an effect long term on whether people do get married or not.
Yeah.
I highly doubt.
So for people though who did lobola and then signed a prenup afterwards, what do they need to do now?
They signed a prenup afterwards. I'm not quite sure. What is the rule of thumb on that, Clement, actually?
Yeah, because that is precisely the issue of the judgment, is that you can't just, even when you enter into a civil agreement and you sign a prenup, because then what are you thinking the customary law was? It was valid and it's got its own consequences. So you've got to go through the court process, which is why even that clip I played earlier, the suggestion is that you've got to consult your lawyer and maybe start a process where you can make sure that that prenup has followed the right process. If not, then you've got to go through the court process, having consulted a lawyer, so that that prenup is somehow valid. The most important thing is just consult a lawyer, get some legal advice. It's 2 minutes before 10. Staying with us here on 702. I truly appreciate your contributions on the 702 open line. A lawyer friend of mine actually sent me a message, which I think is actually important, as we were discussing a conversation about the Constitutional Court judgment. And he says, by the way, the judgment is silent on whether it applies retrospectively or for the marriages or the marriages after the ruling. So can you apply it for marriages that happened before the ruling, or can you apply it only for marriages after the ruling? So it still remains to be clear for now, which is why I said you probably just need to consult with your lawyer for some more clarity. As for that, lightning, Komaraba starter for 5 rand. Hey, guys. Yeah. With all the electricity challenges we've had, why didn't we know that? I'm sure that would have helped us in a way or two. No? Time now